we're going to be looking at the anatomy of a generic skeletal muscle cell. Muscles are attached to bones, and they're attached to bones by tendons. And we're going to look at a cross-section of a muscle. So if I were to cut a muscle in half, there would be lots of circles like this. Alright, so we look right here. This is bone. Right here is a tendon, and that's what's connecting muscle to bone. And this right here is the actual muscle itself. Now, every single skeletal muscle has a bunch of connective tissue sheaths that encase it to provide protection. And the outer connective tissue sheath that protects the entire muscle is called the epimysium. And that connective tissue sheath, or epimysium, actually blends right into the tendon, which moves into bone. Inside of the skeletal muscle, you're going to have a bunch of little circles. Each one of these little circles are called fascicles. So this structure right here is a fascicle. And a fascicle also has a bunch of little bundles on the inside. And we're going to look at what those are. Those are actually the individual skeletal muscle cells. But let's back up a second. Let's go to the fascicle level. So a fascicle also has a connective tissue sheath around the outside of it, protecting it. And that is called the, Paramysium. And if you know that peri means in between, that's how we remember that we have the epimysium, the paramysium, and then the individual skeletal muscle cells also have a connective tissue sheath called the endomysium, but peri means in between, so that's how I remember that that is what covers a fascicle. And then if you've studied terminology, you're knowing that epi means on top of, so that's the outer connective tissue sheath around a skeletal muscle. And a fascicle is a bundle of individual skeletal muscle cells. So right here are all individual skeletal muscle cells that also have connective tissue sheaths around the outside of them. So this right here is a individual skeletal muscle cell or fiber, and the reason why they're called fibers is because they are longer than they are wide, and they are covered with a connective tissue sheath, which is called the endomysium. And endo means on the inside. So again, skeletal muscle is packaged in a specific way to give it strength, to give it rigidity, so to protect it from just, wearing and tearing easily. And we have these three connective tissue sheaths. We have the epimysium around the outside of the entire skeletal muscle cell that blends into the tendon, which goes into bone. We have the paramysium, which surrounds each individual fascicle. So again, each of these fascicles have a paramysium around the outside of them, which is yet another connective tissue sheath, which is providing blood supply, veins, arteries, and nerve supply. And then we have our individual skeletal muscle cells, all right, which are surrounded by another connective tissue sheath called the endomysium.